Developing right now on Morning News Now, James Comey facing trial. The former FBI director charged with lying to Congress and obstruction in a bombshell indictment by a federal grand jury. This just days after President Trump pressured the Attorney General to prosecute Comey and his other opponents. Now, Comey speaking out and fighting back.
My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial.
We're in Washington with more on the charges, the reaction, and what happens next. Also this morning, tariffs and tactics. President Trump announcing a fresh round of sweeping tariffs on imports ranging from pharmaceuticals to furniture. Plus, TikTok now one step closer to new majority American ownership. And the president pushing for the death penalty in Washington, D.C. We've got the latest on it all. Developing news, the East Coast bracing for a wet weekend ahead of a series of storms as they roll in. Meanwhile, Hurricane Umberto gaining strength as it takes aim at the Caribbean. We're tracking it all. And they are changing the game. A pair of friends with a lot of drive making their mark on the golf course. In style, how they're taking a swing at bringing more diversity to the sport. Good morning. I'm Savannah Sellers. Let's start with the good news. It is Friday. Been a long week. Joe is on assignment, so you're just with me today. We're going to begin our show this morning with a major escalation in President Trump's efforts to prosecute his political opponents with the indictment of former FBI Director James Comey by a federal grand jury. Now, this comes just days after the president publicly pressured his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to do just that. Comey's being charged with 2 counts, making a false statement and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. It's the first time in U.S. history that an ex-director of the FBI has been indicted. The charges relate to testimony Comey gave. This was back in 2020, and it was during a Senate Judiciary Committee. Comey, who denies any wrongdoing, reacted to the news. He posted a video on Instagram yesterday. We're going to show you a little bit of this. He appeared defiant and declaring his innocence. In a few moments, we're going to speak with NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalas about all this. But before this, let's get the latest from NBC News Washington correspondent Alice Barr. Alice, good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. President Trump's known animosity toward Comey dates back to his having approved the Russia investigation from the first Trump campaign. On Capitol Hill, Democrats are accusing the president of abusing the power of the Justice Department, while Republican allies applaud the move.
Incidences of obstruction of justice.
This morning, a former director of the FBI waking up as a felony defendant. James Comey now indicted by a grand jury on charges of making a false statement and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. It is a major escalation against someone President Trump sees as a political enemy.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump.
Comey posting this video overnight.
And I'm innocent. So let's have a trial.
As the president celebrated the news with the words "Justice in America." The charges stem from congressional testimony Comey gave in September 2020 when he was pressed over whether he lied to Congress years earlier about authorizing a leak to the press involving investigations into Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton.
I stand by what the testimony you summarized.
The statute of limitations for the charges was set to run out next week. On Saturday, President Trump publicly pressed Attorney General Pam Bondi to take action against Comey and other perceived political opponents who've investigated him. Yesterday, before the indictment, saying this.
I think I'd be allowed to get involved if I want, but I don't really choose to do so. I can only say that Comey's a bad person.
The top prosecutor tasked with leading the Comey investigation resigned last week rather than seeking an indictment, while a senior DOJ official tells NBC News career prosecutors laid out why they believe there was not enough evidence to charge in a memo to President Trump's hand-picked replacement and former personal attorney Lindsay Halligan, who has no experience as a prosecutor and is now the only one to sign Comey's charging papers.
And Comey is now ordered to appear in court in just under 2 weeks, as Attorney General Pam Bondi said the Justice Department will follow the facts in this case. Savannah.
All right. Alice, thank you so much. Well, for more on this, let's bring in our legal analyst, Danny Savalas. Danny, good morning. So sometimes, like grand jury, this can get super wonky. I think like a really good way to put it, though, as you've explained to me, I've learned this from you, is just when something's going to a grand jury, it's kind of like the evidence is super duper sound. Like it is really there. That's why they're taking this step. And we actually just saw something kind of extraordinary happen, which was this top prosecutor that had been leading the investigation chose to resign instead of an indictment. And now we're seeing an indictment with the next one in line. What does that tell you?
DOJ's internal policy is don't go to the grand jury unless you think you can prove your case to the highest standard in our law beyond a reasonable doubt, the criminal standard. However, once you get to the grand jury, you only need to demonstrate by a preponderance of the evidence. That's all you need to get an indictment. You add to that the fact that a grand jury proceeding is a completely one-sided affair. There are no defense attorneys. There is no defendant. It is just the prosecutor. And in this case, reportedly, it is literally just the prosecutor, just the U.S. attorney who had been on the job for a matter of days, presenting by herself with no prosecution experience. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall because as a defense attorney, I've probably read hundreds of grand jury transcripts, but I've never presented to a grand jury. And I would be anxious about it because first, for me, this is someone who has no, as I understand it, no criminal defense or prosecution experience whatsoever presenting to a grand jury, which is a difficult process. It's not something that you just walk into and do for the first time on a case of this magnitude.
Right, absolutely. It also looks like the grand jury was kind of divided here. The charging paper showed that jurors refused to indict Comey on one of that prosecution's proposed charges. What does that tell you about this case?
It's very telling. It shows me that even in that one-sided affair, the prosecution could not get the indictment. I guess I should be precise. The U.S. attorney who pushed this through couldn't get all of the charges that she wanted in this one-sided affair. So I think that's very telling. But guess what? That's really only a conclusion that's maybe philosophical, maybe moral. The bottom line is now that he's indicted, those charges are going forward one way or another.
We got that snippet of sort of his mindset when he posted this Instagram video being sort of defiant, saying, let's go to trial. How do you think he approaches this and what does happen next year?
A couple things. First, you attack the actual elements of the crime. Section 1001 requires false statements, but it's more than that. They have to be material, they have to be knowing, and they have to be false. A lot of people are talking about a motion because of vindictive or really selective prosecution. Here's the thing about those motions. All federal prosecution is selective. They are of limited jurisdiction. So by their very nature, they pick and choose the prosecutions that they want to take. They couldn't possibly prosecute everything that's illegal under federal criminal law. So everything about federal prosecution is a kind of cherry picking. That being said, this may be the greatest case in American history for selective prosecution. If a judge is going to decide that this was politically motivated and not based on the underlying facts, this might be that case. But I still caution, those motions, incredibly difficult to win.
So there's been this conversation around Pam Bondi's involvement, and really it's because we had basically like a Dear Pam message that the president posted on Truth Social. So it really wasn't a secret. I mean, he posted what he would like to see her do, which was go after people that he had seen as doing something wrong. Is there any way that that could be something that Comey is able to like introduce here and bring up as a grand jury trial unfolds that says, look at what the president had asked our attorney general to do that could help him in some way, that say, hey, you even had a prosecutor resign over this. Doesn't seem like there was a there. Yes
and no. The best place to make that argument is pre-trial in a motion to dismiss, alleging that the prosecution is selective and therefore unconstitutional, unjust. To the extent that what you just talked about reveals facts that tend to point to Comey's innocence or that he's not guilty, those may be relevant. So, for example, tending to show that the investigation was really motivated by this sort of tweet or this direction by the president, that could be helpful. But look for the government to make motions to preclude that kind of evidence, because what went into the prosecutorial decision, they'll argue, has nothing to do with the underlying guilt as long as the grand jury indicted.
All right, Danny Savalas, thank you so much. Well, President Trump has announced a new round of tariffs, citing concerns over imports that he says are hurting local manufacturers. They include imported drugs like pharmaceuticals, all that kind of stuff that we take, as well as home items, think kitchen cabinets, upholstered furniture. NBC News White House correspondent Yamiche Alcindor joins us now with more on this, other developments here. Yamiche, good morning. So these new tariffs announced by President Trump yesterday, they would go into effect next week. I mean, some steep numbers here. Walk us through these announced tariffs and why these specific things are what the president is targeting in this round.
Well, good morning, Savannah. The president really touted what he sees as a successful strategy when it comes to tariffs by his administration. And as a result, he's rolling out even more tariffs that he says is going to make America more money, though experts are worried that it might increase consumer prices. I want to, as you say, walk you through some of these tariffs. We could put it up for post. He posted that he will be imposing a 100% tariff on branded products or patented pharmaceutical products. He also said he was going to be imposing a 50% tariff on all kitchen cabinets, bathroom vanities, and other associated products starting October 1st. And he also said 30% tariff on upholstered furniture. And then he said a 25% tariff on all heavy trucks made in other parts of the world. So the president there laying out a number of new tariffs that are going to be going into effect soon. The president also saying that he wants to use part of the proceeds he's getting from these tariffs to help farmers, especially in particular soybean farmers who are now losing because we used to export a number of soybeans to China. It was a huge export. Now China is buying that from Argentina, and U.S. farmers are really in a bind here, Savannah.
Yamiche, also let's talk about some news from earlier in the day. President Trump had signed this memo directing his Attorney General Pam Bondi to seek jurisdiction for crimes committed in Washington, D.C. that allow the death penalty under federal law. It's something that Mr. Trump has actually looked into previously. What is driving this decision, and where do we see this going?
Well, the president continues to tout the idea that he believes this federal takeover that we've seen happen in Washington, D.C. with the National Guard patrolling and other military officials patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C., that it's been successful because crime has dropped. Critics of this say, well, if you send in the National Guard, yeah, crime is going to drop. But then when they leave, the crime issues are still going to be there. That being said, the president is very clear that he wants to sort of up the ante here when it comes to the death penalty. Take a listen to what the president said.
This is the death penalty for somebody that kills people in Washington, D.C. I think it's capital. It's a very interesting capital punishment, capital city. Right? It's capital. But this is our capital city. We can't allow that to happen. People come in from Iowa to look at the Lincoln Memorial and they end up getting killed. It doesn't happen anymore. It's not going to happen. And if it does happen, it's the death penalty for the person that did it.
So there you have it, the president really wanting to step up efforts to take even more federal control of what's going on in Washington, D.C., Savannah.
Also, I do want to ask you about President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan. There's been this back and forth this week, an accusation of him accepting $50,000 in cash from undercover FBI agents. Homan denies the allegations. An investigation has been closed. Tell us where we're at with that and what Senate Democrats want to do here.
Yeah, so Tom Homan is continuing to deny that he broke the law in any way. But Senate Democrats are now demanding both the DOJ and the FBI release any information they have on this investigation that included Tom Homan. There's been reporting, including at our network, that he was on video taking $50,000 in cash. So Democrats are urging the federal government now to give them any information, whether it's videos or documents or anything that might show what the investigation and Tom Homan found. The big question here is whether or not Senate Democrats will be able to actually urge and actually demand those documents to be released to them, because they have limited power, because, of course, Democrats are right now in the minority in the Senate and the House. Of course, this is coming from the Senate, but I know House Democrats are also interested in this. But again, because they have very limited power, Republicans really control not just, of course, Congress, but also the White House, the FBI, and the DOJ. So it's not clear that Attorney General Pam Bondi is going to be willing to play ball with them in any way. Savannah.
Yamiche, thank you so much for your reporting this morning. Well, next Wednesday, October 1st, is the deadline for a government shutdown. And lawmakers are not any closer to reaching a federal funding deal. In fact, Congress hasn't even been in session. Well, as NBC News Chief Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles explains, Democrats are standing firm and so far against this pressure from President Trump to not pass this budget, and even the threat of potential mass layoffs not changing that.
Days from a partial federal government shutdown, new pressure from the Trump administration. If Congress does not extend government funding, millions of federal workers could lose their jobs. OMB Director Russ Vought suggesting agencies target employees in programs that are, quote, not consistent with the president's priorities. House Republicans passed a spending bill that would keep the government open, but they need Democratic votes for it to pass the Senate. President Trump saying Democrats are making unreasonable demands.
Well, this is all caused by the Democrats. They want to give money away to illegals. They want to give them massive federal money, and we don't want to do that.
And accusing Democrats of hypocrisy. In a similar situation 6 months ago, Democrats supported a spending bill to keep the government open.
In a shutdown, American families would be hurt in ways they almost have never been.
But Democrats blasting President Trump for canceling a meeting with Democratic leaders.
Why'd you back out of the meeting, bro? Why? I don't understand.
A shutdown could lead to millions of federal workers not getting paid, in addition to those potential mass firings.
What would you say to federal workers that are just worried about losing their jobs?
We will continue to push back against any effort to undermine federal civil service protections that exist in the United States of America. As a negotiating tactic, our response to Russ' vote is simple: get lost.
Our thanks to Ryan Nobles for that report. There are no plans at this time for each side to meet. Well, President Trump has signed an executive order that paves the way for TikTok to stay alive here in the U.S. This order facilitates the sale of the popular social media app from this Chinese-based company, ByteDance, to a group of American investors. We're still waiting on the details of exactly which investors. But once the deal is implemented, TikTok's U.S. operations will be run by this new joint venture company. The president says he spoke with the president of China prior to signing that executive order.
I had a very good talk with President Xi. A lot of respect for him. Hopefully he has a lot of respect for me, too. And we talked about TikTok and other things, but we talked about TikTok, and he gave us the go-ahead. You know, it's run by American investors and American companies, great ones, great investors, the biggest. You don't get bigger, I don't imagine.
Well, this deal will comply with a law passed last year. It sought to ban TikTok if it wasn't sold to U.S.-based owners. Vice President Vance says this transaction will value the business at $14 billion, calling it good for investors. That was certainly less than we were anticipating, so that seems to be true. Well, in what appears to be an abrupt move, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is summoning the U.S. military's top officers, hundreds of admirals and generals, to Northern Virginia next week for a rare meeting. The meeting is set to take place at Marine Corps Base Quantico, just outside of Washington. A Pentagon spokesperson said a meeting will take place, but did not elaborate on the specifics. NBC News national security reporter Gordon Lubbold joins us now with more on this. Gordon, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, this certainly raised eyebrows yesterday. The Washington Post reported that this just happened yesterday. He ordered these senior officers in on short notice for this gathering. What do we know right now about this planned meeting, and how rare is something like this?
Well, first of all, it's very rare. Secretaries of Defense often call top officers to the Pentagon. It's usually a very planned meeting. The topics are very clear. What's notable about this one is the sheer number of officers, potentially as many as 800. You have 1-star generals and admirals all the way up to 3 and 4 stars. And the idea of bringing all of them in, again, on short notice, with no reason given for what the meeting's about is, it's extremely rare. I've covered the Pentagon for a long time. We've never seen this.
Are there concerns over how this meeting could impact the armed forces' readiness, like them all being at this meeting?
Yeah, for sure. This is, again, the sheer number of these officers who are at command posts all around the world. Mm-hmm. And so pulling them, just logistically pulling them all in on short notice, getting them here on aircraft, whether it be military aircraft or just commercial flights or whatever, and pulling them from their day jobs, as it were, and then putting them all in one central location does raise a lot of questions about the ability of the military to provide security for that spot, but also pulling them out of their jobs. And, if you're an adversary, maybe this is a good time to take advantage of it. It's just an unprecedented number of officers that are being pulled in. The meeting may become fairly mundane, but the lack of information for those officers and their aides and their staffs or whatever is kind of what's so remarkable here.
Gordon, what's the president said about this?
The president was asked about it in the Oval Office yesterday. I think he kind of shrugged it off. It's not totally clear that he understood the question, because his answer, said it's great to be friendly with the officers and generals coming in. It wasn't very clear that he responded to the answer specifically, to their question specifically. But I think the White House, to the extent that they understand what this is all about, will be fine with it. I think the devil will be in the details when over the next several days the Pentagon plans to bring these people in. Once they get into the heavy logistics and the security issues, then there may be more questions.
All right, Gordon, thank you so much. Well, here in New York, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is set to speak at the United Nations General Assembly later this morning after a chorus of condemnation from the international body over the war in Gaza. In a remote speech yesterday, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas pledged to work with President Trump and others on a peace plan for Gaza, vowing Hamas, quote, will have no role in governance of the enclave. And President Trump is making promises of his own on the occupied West Bank. Listen.
I will not allow Israel to annex the West Bank. There's been enough. It's time to stop now.
NBC News International correspondent Matt Bradley is in Tel Aviv with more on this. Matt, good morning. So, Prime Minister, of course, facing pressure at home, but clearly from abroad. You've reported and really kind of helped us understand a little bit more about what is happening at home in terms of the pressure he's facing. What can we expect when we hear from him today? Do people expect that he's going to reaffirm this commitment to no matter how it impacts Palestinians?
Yeah, I mean, I expect that for an Israeli audience, this is going to be Benjamin Netanyahu's greatest hits. We're not going to hear, especially among the public here in Israel, anything that we haven't heard before, kind of like what we heard from Trump just a couple of days ago, speaking to the United Nations. I think that, as you said, I think he's going to reaffirm his commitment to destroying Hamas. That's going to be a big issue. He's also going to be condemning, in no uncertain terms, I'm certain, those nations that decided to basically recognize a Palestinian state. That has been a big cause of consternation here among Israeli officialdom, and certainly the Prime Minister is going to be carrying that message abroad on this huge international stage. From what I understand from talking to people in the Prime Minister's office is that while maybe the people around Netanyahu are going to want this speech to be a bit more conciliatory, a bit more reaching out to the many, many dissenters and critics throughout the world of Israeli policy in the Gaza Strip. This person that I spoke to said that it's likely that this speech is also going to be incredibly defiant.
Let's get you a check of your weather now. There's a lot going on while you were sleeping. Tropical storm Umberto actually became a hurricane. Let's check in with our Angie Lastman. She is here in studio tracking the latest in the tropics for us. Hey, Angie, good morning.
Hi, Savannah. Good morning. You've got that right. A lot going on with the tropics. And as you mentioned, we have a newly formed hurricane. That means that 3 for 3 we've gone for systems that developed during this hurricane season and became a hurricane. So Humberto is now 75 miles per hour, northwest winds at 3 miles per hour, just crawling along. Put a pin in that system for a second and look to tropical disturbance 94L. 90% chance of that developing over the next 7 days, but likely going to happen much sooner than that. You can see it is producing still some showers, some thunderstorms, some gusty winds over parts of the Caribbean. Yesterday it was Puerto Rico. Today, the island of Hispaniola, as well as Turks and Caicos. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on that. When we go to Humberto, though, notice that we are likely looking at continued intensification with this system. So Cat 4 is on the table here as we get into Monday. It does look to take a northerly turn, but the good news is right now is we're not looking at any impacts from this system for the United States. And even Bermuda, it'll pass well to the west, likely of it. There's still a bit of a chance that it could take a little bit of a easterly turn there, but even still, it looks like those impacts will be indirect. Different story with 94L, which is expected to become a depression or a storm by late tonight or potentially into the weekend. Now, exactly where that develops, that is the million-dollar question at this point. You can see the development zone is wide-reaching, but it'll it'll likely be near the Bahamas, again, in that short time frame. The models, they're coming into better agreement. So you can kind of see some of the spaghetti plots there. Better agreement that the Carolinas, maybe late Monday into early Tuesday, could see impacts from this. Some models, though, notice, still take it out for that right turn before it hits the coast. This is extremely uncertain still, but we're starting to get a better idea of it. Now, let's kind of put the American model and the European model side by side, and you can see the differences. European model, a little slower, kind of stalls out that system offshore by the time we get to Tuesday. The American model takes it on land, of course, into the Carolinas late Monday night. We're also going to see it kind of interacting with a ridge of high pressure well to the north, and that means that that stall is going to matter with exactly where that happens and when that happens because of rainfall. So we could potentially be looking at a high rainfall event. Now, if the system is sitting offshore, that means that most of the heavy rain will be offshore as well. That doesn't mean we're unscathed or we don't have any impacts in the Carolinas, but it's a whole lot different if the center of that system maintains its strength and is sitting over the Carolinas for a prolonged period for inland flooding. So we'll watch for that concern here over the next couple of days. Again, the timing looks to be Monday into Tuesday, but we still really, Savannah, don't know if it's going to take this exact path. We still have the influence from Umberto that could potentially pull it farther to the right, although the models, again, are starting to come into better agreement. The really important thing we're waiting for now is exactly where that center forms, because that is how we get the initial conditions, and that's what you put into the model to kind of give you, to spit out exactly the best solutions that you can have. If you don't know where you're starting, then it's harder to get an accurate kind of forecast down the line. So that's going to be a telltale sign of exactly what happens over the next couple of days. But if you live on the southeast coast, now is the time that you want to start paying attention for sure.
Great information for people that live in that area. Pay attention. Spaghetti plots, like that one.
You like that
Learning
one?
new words. Check out Angie's Instagram, by the way. She's explaining all these questions I ask her in the morning. I love it.
You're my muse.
Thank you, Angie. We'll see you in a little bit. There's much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, a series of drone sightings renewing concerns about Russia. The warning now from the European Union. First, though, after the break, moments of terror caught on camera. The new video showing that deadly shooting at an ICE facility in Texas. That's up next. We'll be right back. We are back with new details from the investigation into that deadly shooting at an ICE facility in Dallas. Surveillance video obtained by NBC News appears to show the moment investigators say the gunman fired several bullets at this facility. Shackled detainees can be seen running from transport vehicles while under fire and bolting inside for cover. The harrowing images come as investigators are trying to figure out everything they can about the 29-year-old gunman who took his own life. NBC News correspondent Priscilla Thompson is in Dallas with details.
Investigators revealing disturbing new details about a gunman they say was fixated on killing ICE agents and had been planning his attack on a Dallas ICE facility for months.
What he did is the very definition of terrorism.
The FBI saying they found his handwritten notes, including one that read, "Hopefully this will give ICE agents real terror to think, is there a sniper with AP rounds on that roof?"
He wrote that he intended to maximize lethality against ICE personnel and to maximize property damage at the facility.
In addition to writing anti-ICE on his bullets, the FBI says the gunman downloaded a list of DHS facilities, searched apps that tracked ICE agents, and conducted multiple searches for the, quote, Charlie Kirk shot video. Before, investigators say he got onto a roof across from the ICE office and started firing indiscriminately, hitting a van with detainees inside, killing one of them, and then taking his own life. A man who says he was in the same Boy Scout troop with the suspect as a teen described a conversation about migrant caravans in recent years. He was just upset about how people were not understanding people's desperation to get out of bad situations, the Scout member, who asked not to be named, told NBC News. President Trump's border czar blaming Democrats' fierce criticism of ICE.
When they have a congressman or someone that ran for vice president of the United States comparing ICE to Nazis, that gives some of these nuts and emboldens them to take action.
We need leadership coming from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue to take the temperature down for everybody.
Officials say the gunman acted alone.
Was there anything that you all have found in terms of an inciting incident that led him to commit this attack?
People can be motivated to violence by any number of grievances. In this case, the clearest indication of motivation are his own words. He wanted to cause terror. He wanted to harm ICE personnel.
We know that this office is expected to reopen on Monday with increased security. Back to you.
All right, Priscilla, thank you very much. Well, tensions in Europe are escalating this morning after Russia's foreign minister said that NATO and the European Union are using the conflict in Ukraine to declare a, quote, real war on Russia. His comments come as U.S. fighter jets intercepted Russian warplanes near Alaska on Wednesday. European officials are also raising concerns about Russian aircraft entering their airspace. NBC News chief international correspondent Keir Simmons has more.
The U.S. scrambling fighter jets to intercept 4 Russian warplanes near Alaska. The Russian jets never entered U.S. airspace, but are another sign President Putin is testing NATO. In Denmark's night sky, mysterious lights, drones that witnesses say hovered over an airport and military base, 2 days after 20,000 passengers had their flights disrupted. Denmark calling them hybrid attacks by a professional actor. The Russian embassy denying involvement, calling it staged and a provocation. While last week, Russian MiG fighter jets entered Estonian airspace, prompting this response from President Trump.
Mr. President, do you think that NATO countries should shoot down Russian aircraft if they enter their airspace?
Yes, I do. All of it after President Trump dramatically shifted his approach to Russia, saying Ukraine can win back its original borders, calling out the president of Turkey, a member of NATO, for still buying Russian oil.
I'd like to have him stop buying any oil from Russia while Russia continues this rampage against Ukraine.
While Ukraine's President Zelensky threatening Russia.
They have to know where their bomb shelters are. If they will not stop the war, they will need it in any case.
Well, let's now bring in NBC News aviation analyst Jeff Gazzetti to broaden out this conversation about drones and airline travel. Jeff, good morning. Thanks very much for joining us. So drones, they're becoming more and more prevalent. I think that word gets used a lot, and it describes quite a few different types of essentially just like a flying aircraft of some type. So tell us a little bit about what we think these were here. This is not like your backyard remote-controlled drone and the type of threat that they pose.
Good morning, Savannah. Yeah, these drones were larger than the recreational drones you might see when people get a gift for Christmas or something. They're larger, but they're not that large. They can still do a lot of damage if they impact a commercial airliner. The smaller the aircraft, the more damage a drone can do to it if it strikes it. For large commercial aircraft, it can still take out an engine like a bird strike or something like that. But they are larger, especially these types that you're showing right now, probably can weigh up to 50 pounds or more. And that could be a real hazard to commercial aircraft.
Are these kind of airspace incursions common? Or, I mean, I think we're hearing about this more frequently. Obviously, in this case, the concern in the conversation is around, is this Russia and is this escalating something? What does that ultimately mean for NATO? But people probably remember we've had this conversation about drones that were flying over New Jersey that caused a big stir here. Like, why are we hearing about this so much more?
Well, the reason we're hearing more about it is because the drone industry and drone operations are exploding in this country, right? Not only just for recreation, but for commercial applications, for aerial photography, things like that. So there's a lot more drones being manufactured and operated, and they're mixing it up with normal manned aircraft travel. So the FAA has very strict rules about not flying drones near airports in the United States. But there's still a lot of scofflaws out there that continue to do it or are just ignorant of the airspace rules.
Totally. What, if anything, can the FAA or international airline organizations airline themselves, or let's say, you know, you're at one of these airports in the European Union where we've seen this be happening and shut down air travel. What can be done to stop these incursions into their airspace and make such large disruptions, short of like shooting something down, which obviously then continues to have disruptions, potential danger for people on the ground?
Well, there's a couple of things, Savannah. So pilots need to report when they think they see a drone, and people on the ground, to include the Airworthiness Authority, they partner with law enforcement, and they use law enforcement as a force multiplier to get on the ground and find out what's going on here. Also, there's very sophisticated equipment that's available to detect drones, the frequency by which they're being controlled from. So law enforcement can really help with that also. And finally, the FAA and any civil airworthiness authority has to be extremely vigilant to these types of reports. But there's just so much you can do with bad actors that aren't following the rules.
All right, Jeff, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Certainly a talker and concerning. Well, coming up, one family calling out an insurance company for denying coverage for their son's care.
Maybe insurance companies will see this and say, oh, these are real people out there. It's not just a stack of paper.
When we come back, the surprising turnaround after our team stepped in. You see our Kate Snow there. You're watching Morning News Now. We're back with a story about one family who was denied insurance coverage in the middle of their son's mental health crisis. Get this, though, after NBC News reached out multiple times to the employer who sponsors their insurance plan, the family said they reached a surprising resolution. NBC News senior national correspondent Kate Snow has the details.
Jonathan Benz-Bushling lives in western Michigan, a typical teen with an invisible illness, a mental health condition made worse by substance abuse. In February, he tried to kill himself.
We took him straight to the ER. They said then our hospital doesn't have pediatrics, so they need to find him a bed.
Jonathan ended up in an inpatient psychiatric unit, a doctor there noting patient too unstable to function outside of hospital.
What were the doctors saying at that point about what he might need next?
They said we need to find him a bed at a long-term residential treatment facility because he's not in a place where he can come home now and be safe.
Jonathan's parents, Misty and Nick, found that at Newport Academy in Washington State. Doctors there wanted Jonathan to stay 9 weeks.
5 days after Jonathan arrived, you get a letter from your insurance company. What does it say?
They said treatment at Newport facility was not medically necessary because he could receive care at a lower level.
At a lower level, not residential, but living at home and going somewhere to get care.
Right.
You've got 3 more letters saying the same thing.
Correct.
They appealed several times.
Not medically necessary.
Yep.
Not medically necessary.
Then a final appeal, submitting this 270-page document.
They deny again.
Correct.
The denial from an insurance plan run by Nick's employer, American Electric Power.
A care coordinator from insurance called and said, hey, can we help you find a therapist in town? And I told her, if my son comes home now, he will end his life and the blood will be on your hands.
Fearing for Jonathan's life, they paid out of pocket for a shorter stay at the residential facility. They took out a high-interest loan for $25,000. Nick sold a collection of limited edition Stephen King books. Their oldest daughter switched to an online college.
Our contributions to her tuition now are $0.
A care coordination company, Quantum Health, manages their insurance. Quantum told NBC News when reviewing coverage requests, it's obligated to follow American Electric Power's terms, including its rules for medical. AEP told us it does not play a role in determining what treatment is provided to any covered individual. The Benz-Bushlings threatened to sue American Electric Power to recover their costs. After interviewing the family, we reached out to AEP multiple times about Jonathan's story. And then 1 week after our last attempt, the family's attorney told us they had resolved their dispute. The financial terms are confidential. AEP telling us we are pleased that the family was able to resolve their concerns. Jonathan is back in high school, sober and going fishing with friends.
How would you describe your life right now?
Really good, actually. For the first time in a while, I was able to go hang out with friends alone.
You see a change in him.
Absolutely.
They're feeling hopeful.
Maybe insurance companies will see this and say, oh, these are real people out there. It's not just a stack of paper.
Kate Snow, NBC News, Stevensville, Michigan.
Such powerful reporting in this series we're doing, just making a real difference. And if you or anyone you know is struggling, please call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It is on your screen right now, and it is just 988. Coming up, 2 friends teaming up on the green.
So y'all all friends and y'all all play golf?
Yes, sir.
Who's the best? Oh, yeah. Wow, that was quick.
More on their efforts to diversify the game of golf. Tea Time is next on Morning News Now. Welcome back. Let's get to some of the morning's biggest financial headlines. Baseball's opening day will step up to the streaming plate next year. CNBC's Silvana Henao joins us with that and other money news. Hey, Silvana.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. Happy Friday. Yeah, so Netflix will stream Major League Baseball's opening day game between the New York Yankees and San Francisco Giants next year. It's part of a new 3-year deal. Now, The Athletic reports the Yankees opener on March 25th at the Giants. It will be the first exclusive stream for Netflix. It will also have the Home Run Derby during the All-Star break and is expected to share a handful of special regular season games with NBC and Peacock, such as the Field of Dreams game in Iowa. MLB has declined comment. Meanwhile, NBC Universal is warning YouTube TV subscribers its programming could go dark on the live streaming service soon. That's the latest industry dispute over distribution fees. Deadline reports NBC's current contract with YouTube TV. It expires on Tuesday. Now, hanging in the balance is major content such as Sunday Night Football, the NBA, Big Ten football games, WWE, Premier League Soccer, and the season premiere of SNL. And YouTube is taking flight on Delta, the airline signing a deal with the platform to bring YouTube content to the seatback video screens, as well as free trials of YouTube Premium for Delta SkyMiles members and a custom YouTube music playlist curated by flight attendants. So this new offering, it launched on Thursday, Savannah.
All right, Silvana, thank you so much.
Got it.
Well, it's a big day for golf fans. The 45th Ryder Cup officially tees off today at the Bethpage Black Golf Course out on Long Island, with top-tier golfers from the U.S. taking on rivals from Europe. But for many fans, the game is more than just a sport, and they're showing it by letting their clothes do the talking. NBC News correspondent Marquise Francis joins us live with this fun story. Hi, Marquise. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. The biannual competition pits the best from the U.S. against Europe's finest, and it comes at a time when the sport is booming, attracting new audiences across the globe. But one group has consistently lagged behind the global stage: players. That's why the co-founders of one clothing brand are shaking up the fairway with a bold look and an even bolder mission.
On a Saturday afternoon in Atlanta, an American pastime is getting a shakeup.
So y'all all friends and y'all all play golf?
Yes, sir.
So who's the best out of y'all? Wow, that was quick.
We bought the golf course for the day. Free golf lessons, free food.
You're looking at a community day, one of several events across the country put on by Eastside Golf, a brand that's looking to help usher new faces onto the putting green.
My favorite part about golf is that I can break barriers and I could be one of the best around. And if I win and I get second, that's always great.
There isn't one race and there isn't one person that owns the game of golf.
Co-founders and former Morehouse College golf teammates Earl Cooper and Olajuwon Ajanaku teed off the concept back in 2019.
Just talking about the logo, the swing man, why was it important to make it so black?
Because that's my skin tone. Jeans, sweatshirt, Jubilee chain. I was just going to put that on my bag and my polo. I showed it to Earl. He was just like, yo, you need to put that on a t-shirt.
Just last year, they say the brand brought in more than $10 million in revenue, and celebrities are noticing.
Shout out to Eastside Golf.
I mean, it's fly, even if you're not into golf, it's just a fly logo show.
This wasn't even the first business plan that I've showed him.
This was a good one, though.
Yeah.
But beyond the business, the course may be green, but the sport still looks majority white.
Being in Atlanta, knowing that you're surrounded by other young black golfers, but maybe when you go to a tournament, it doesn't look like that. What is that experience like?
It's tough. It might just be me and Nairi.
Sometimes you can be a little scared or a little nervous.
The National Golf Foundation reported back in 2019 that only 3% of recreational golfers in the U.S. were black. Today, that number is reportedly growing, but black golfers are still a minority. In fact, Mariah Stackhouse is currently the only black golfer swinging in the LPGA.
I think golf sort of follows the pattern of racism in the United States.
Now, we can't talk about black golfers without mentioning black caddies, who helped white players become champions on greens they weren't allowed to play on. In the 1950s, landmark Supreme Court cases took a swing at segregation on public courses, but they didn't affect the private ones, some even barring black players as late as the 1990s.
Every time I go to a major country club, you can always sense it. People are always staring at you.
There were times when they refused to play with me.
What is it like to love a game that doesn't necessarily always love you back?
It's sometimes difficult. I wanted people to know that there was a black female on the golf course. I would always wear pink.
That's one of the reasons why I play golf. A little soft rebellion, showing that we're here.
Back on the Charlie Yates golf course, a John came out to show me how it's done.
Always finish your swing, finger and middle finger.
I grew up playing basketball, so I came in feeling pretty confident. But let's just say it's tougher than it looks.
Ooh. There we go.
I think we went over
there.
There
we go.
Listen, we hit it. We hit it. Appreciate you.
There we go. There we go.
All right. Got to come to a few more community days to get it straight. But
yeah.
If I would have had your club, I would have been good.
That is.
Why she do that to him?
So, as you can see, I might need a little bit more practice, but Eastside Golf is still in full swing. This week, they hit a new milestone, dropping their new Take Flight collection in collaboration with Nike.
Wow.
And they'll be celebrating at the Ryder Cup by pulling even more new faces onto the greens with a pop-up series right here in New York, down in Soho, all weekend long.
Oh my gosh, Marquise, that looked like a fun one.
It was good. It was
You were
fun.
styling there too, by the way.
Still have some work to do on the golf course, yeah.
I bet. Golf is hard. Honestly, the concept of golf, a teeny tiny ball in a hole that far away, blows my mind. It would take me 90 strokes for one hole.
Insane. I need some lessons.
Marquise, thank you so much. Well, coming up, a father-daughter dance gone viral thanks to a very special guest. When we come back, the wedding serenade from a superstar that made one bride's big day even more memorable. You might recognize her. This is Morning News Now. All right, welcome back to the end of this hour. We have an extra special father-daughter dance. After a chance encounter the night before her wedding, one bride's special day was made even more memorable with a celebrity guest. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch has that story.
When Kelly Elson planned this special wedding dance with her father, Mike, she never imagined a moment like this. Pop star Camila Cabello herself serenading the father-daughter duo with her song First Man.
I'm such a daddy's girl, and I feel like your dad, if you're lucky, is your first love, is your first hero.
Kelly got married earlier this month outside Iowa City, Iowa. She says the night before her family was at a hotel, and so was Cabello.
I told my mom, I'm like, should I go say something? And she's like, yeah, Kelly, everything happens for a reason. You always say that.
Kelly says she knew for about 2 years that she'd want to dance with her dad to Cabello's song.
I just walked up to Camilla and I was like, hi, my name is Kelly. I picked your song for my father-daughter dance, and without hesitation, just offered to sing it for me.
It wasn't like after talking for a little bit, getting to know each other.
No, just immediately was like, can I sing it? And I mean, I said yes. Who says no?
The gesture going viral on TikTok. Cabello even commenting, I'm honored I was a part of your family's special day.
And I could tell from speaking to you guys yesterday that your dad loves the hell out of you.
That special bond celebrated in unforgettable fashion, thanks to a wedding crasher and a song. Jesse Kirsch, NBC News.
How cool is that? And that is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Don't go anywhere, though. The news continues right now. Good morning and happy Friday. I'm Savannah Sellers. Joe's out on assignment today. Right now on Morning News Now, war of words, shockwaves resonating throughout Washington this morning over the federal indictment of former FBI Director James Comey. President Trump touting the move as, quote, justice in America, while on Instagram, Comey himself says he is innocent. We're going to dig into the prosecution's case and the reaction to the president's latest move against one of his political opponents. Also this morning, scary scenes aboard a Delta flight in Atlanta. A Nigeria-bound jet forced to abort takeoff as flames, look at your screen, were seen pouring out of one of its engines. And that wasn't the only aviation nightmare that plagued America's passengers this week. More on the United plane that actually overshot a runway in Virginia. Plus, it was a group credited with helping Donald Trump get back in the White House, but is what's sort of known as the podcast manosphere now turning its back on the president. The influencers on the right pulling a 180, sounding off on some of the White House's latest moves and why their new shift in support is gaining steam online. And later in the hour, why the days of those massive McMansions could be numbered as American homebuyers look to downsize, all for the right price. Thanks again for joining us on a Friday morning. We're going to begin this hour with this major news out of Washington. There is a lot of it. Former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted by a federal grand jury. Comey was charged with making a false statement and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. So these charges, they relate to testimony that Comey gave back in 2020 during a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. Now, Comey denies any wrongdoing. The indictment comes just days after President Trump pushed the Attorney General, his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to prosecute Comey and several of his other political opponents, doing so right on social media. NBC News senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett joins us now with more on this. Hi, Laura. Good morning.
Hey, Savannah. Good morning to you. This indictment against Comey, only 2 pages long, but the lead up here, years in the making, as the president has long demanded the prosecution of James Comey well before it was ever clear that prosecutors could actually make a case. This extraordinary escalation posing a new stress test for the Department of Justice, forced to now defend these charges in court.
This morning, the man who once led the FBI, now indicted by a federal grand jury. James Comey ordered to appear in court on October 9th on charges of obstruction and making a false statement to Congress.
And I'm innocent, so let's have a trial.
Comey taking to Instagram after the indictment, urging the public to pay attention.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either.
Comey's prosecution celebrated by President Trump, whose anger at the former FBI director stretches back years to Comey's approval of an investigation into his first campaign's dealings with Russia. Mr. Trump posting last night on Truth Social, "Justice in America." The indictment coming just days after the president voiced his frustration with the pace of the DOJ's investigation surrounding Comey and others who investigated him, demanding on social media that Pam Bondi go after them, quote, now.
I just want people to act. If they're not guilty, that's fine. If they are guilty or if they should be charged, they should be charged. And we have to do it now.
Thursday's 2-page indictment against Comey, however, not detailing a vast FBI conspiracy against Trump, as the president and his allies have alleged. Instead, it centers around Comey's testimony to Congress in 2020, when he was pressed by Senator Ted Cruz about whether he lied to Congress years earlier about authorizing a leak.
Stand by what the testimony you summarized.
Any criminal charges stemming from that testimony putting prosecutors up against the clock, with the statute of limitations set to run out next week. Internally at the DOJ, divisions over the substance of the case coming into focus after a top prosecutor tasked with leading the Comey investigation resigned last week. A senior DOJ official telling NBC News that career prosecutors also detailed the lack of evidence against Comey in a memo to Trump's new handpicked interim U.S. attorney, Lindsay Halligan, a member of his personal defense team with no experience as a prosecutor, now the sole signature on Comey's charging papers.
And Savannah, it's worth noting here, while the grand jury indicted Comey on 2 counts, they declined to indict on a 3rd, causing a fair bit of confusion there in the courtroom, according to our producer. Last night, the judge confused about multiple papers being filed. Now, of course, this will move to a proceeding in front of a judge appointed by President Biden. Savannah.
All right, Laura Jarrett, thank you so much. Well, let's get more on this now with our friend NBC News legal analyst, Danny Savalas. Danny, good to have you back with us this hour. Okay, so just to kind of talk about all this in like really simple terms, what's essentially going on is like he said, right? So we have Comey who says, I did not lie during this hearing. And then we have McCabe who's essentially saying, hey, no, you did tell me to leak something to the media. Comey says it didn't happen. So that is what this all centers on. Did he lie because he was under oath during this?
Exactly right. Yep.
So if it's just a he said, it's 2 people's story, which one is true? Here's the issue, right, is that we got to the point of grand jury. That's the point that's supposed to be tough, right, to actually say my evidence is enough to get to that point. Since a new prosecutor with no experience had come in and taken it to that point, now that we're there for Comey, this is tough because the bar for the next step of this is a lot lower than normal. Is that right?
No, actually, it's inverted. So when you go to the grand jury, actually, what
the federal prosecutors' internal policies are to only go to the grand jury if they believe they can prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, which is the highest standard under the law. However, that is not a legal obligation. That is only an internal procedural requirement that they impose on themselves. Once they get to the grand jury, though, the burden is only preponderance. That means anything over 50%. Right. It's a very easy burden to meet, and it's a one-sided show because a grand jury proceeding has no defense attorneys and no defendant. There's no cross-examination. It's totally the prosecutor's show. However, once indicted and the case moves to trial, then they have to prove each and every element beyond a reasonable doubt, the highest burden in our law.
How would you approach this if you're Comey's team?
There are a lot of options here for the defense. First, let's talk about the elements of the crime. As you pointed out correctly, this is going to be a he said situation. Often false statements prosecutions are with bedrock evidence. The defendant said this thing, and we have papers and documents and all kinds of other digital evidence showing that he flat out lied. That's not the case here. It is, as you said, probably going to come down to the testimony of one versus the testimony of another. Then you have the other elements of the crime. For false statements, for example, it needs to be material, and it needs to be knowingly false. If it's not knowingly false, then it's not a crime. Then you have an argument that I'm sure you're going to see in a pretrial motion, which is a motion to dismiss based on selective prosecution. Normally, this motion is a loser. It never wins. This may be the perfect storm of facts supporting a selective prosecution motion.
We heard there in Laura's piece that it looks like the grand jury was divided on this case, with jurors refusing to indict Comey on one of the things that the prosecution tried to make happen here. What's that tell you?
Unfortunately for Comey, it won't really matter too much at trial, but it tells me that in a procedural arrangement where the prosecution can virtually get anything pushed through if they have the evidence. I mean, they obviously, a grand jury hopefully doesn't indict if they see zero evidence. But the fact that they rejected at least one of these potential charges is significant to me because the grand jury process is so slanted in favor of the prosecution.
Danny Ceballos, as always, thank you so much. Great to have you with us. Well, overnight, President Trump announcing a new round of tariffs on everything from pharmaceuticals to kitchen cabinets, stating imports are hurting local manufacturers. Well, this comes as Democrats and Republicans remain at odds over federal funding, with less than 5 days to go to avoid a potential government shutdown. And this could be a big one with lots of layoffs on the line. NBC News senior White House correspondent Garrett Haake has the latest from Washington.
The president announced these new tariffs on social media overnight, leaving American companies and foreign governments mostly to guess at their specific impacts. And with the Supreme Court set to hear a case on the legality of the president's tariffs later this fall, the new rollout just creates more economic uncertainty. That uncertainty made even worse by a looming government shutdown, which this morning there appears to be no clear off-ramp to avoid. This morning, a political 1-2 punch that could have massive ripple effects through the economy. President Trump revealing a wide-ranging set of new tariffs as a potential government shutdown is just days away. A slew of pharmaceutical products will receive a 100% tariff unless a company is building a manufacturing plant in the United States.
Pharmaceutical companies are moving back to America where they should be.
That's in addition to a 25% tariff on heavy trucks and 50% on kitchen cabinets and bathroom vanities, as well as 30% on upholstered furniture. It's all part of his larger effort to boost domestic manufacturing. But because tariffs are a tax on imported goods that U.S. companies pay, economists warn that they may lead to higher prices at a time of rising inflation. It's prompting concern within the industry. A spokesman for the Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America telling the Wall Street Journal that billions in U.S. investment are at risk because, quote, every dollar spent on tariffs is a dollar that cannot be invested in American manufacturing or future treatments and cures. Those tariffs will take effect October 1st, the same day when a government shutdown will happen if a deal isn't reached. President Trump attempting to lay blame on Democrats, who are holding firm on their demands for more health care funding and a reversal of Medicaid cuts. A shutdown would affect workers and services across the country, from the military to the Postal Service to travel. But the White House is raising the stakes and warning that federal workers could be outright fired rather than furloughed.
We will not be intimidated
by these threats.
It comes as NBC News has learned Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has summoned nearly every senior American military officer to a rare meeting at a Marine Corps base near Washington, D.C. next week. The president downplayed the significance of the highly unusual gathering of nearly 800 generals and admirals.
But why is that such a big deal? I mean, the fact that we're getting along with the generals and admirals from all, remember, I'm the president of peace.
President Trump oversaw the longest ever government shutdown back during his first term, but that was a partial shutdown, which kept some of the government closed for 35 days. But because Congress hasn't passed any spending bills yet, a shutdown now would affect the entire government, meaning even a shorter closure would be more painful.
All right, Garrett, thank you so much. Well, new details are emerging in the investigation into that deadly shooting at an ICE facility in Dallas. NBC News has obtained surveillance video showing the moment a gunman opened fire in the attack that killed one detainee, seriously injuring two others. The FBI now saying the gunman did significant pre-planning before the attack. NBC News correspondent Priscilla Thompson is in Dallas with the latest. Priscilla, good morning.
Savannah, good morning. Federal investigators are combing through electronic devices and conducting interviews, trying to learn as much as they can about this gunman who took his own life. Authorities say that they believe he acted alone and that the clearest evidence of a motive are his own words. This morning, chilling new video appears to show the moment investigators say a gunman unleashed a barrage of bullets on an ICE field office in Dallas. The video shows shackled detainees running from transport vehicles under fire, bolting inside a building for cover, some seemingly stunned, others. At one point, law enforcement can be seen carrying a person inside. The harrowing images come as investigators reveal new details about 29-year-old Joshua Yan, the man they say was responsible for the deadly ambush-style attack.
Yan specifically intended to kill ICE agents.
No agents were harmed, but one detainee was killed, and two others were seriously injured.
He hoped his actions would terrorize ICE employees and interfere with their work, which he called human trafficking.
Authorities say they found a shell casing at the scene with anti-ICE written on it, adding the gunman bought the rifle he used in August and had been planning the attack for months. According to investigators, he also used apps to track the location of ICE agents.
It's no different than giving a hitman the location of their intended target.
Authorities say they have not found evidence the shooter was affiliated with any specific group. Was there anything that you all have found in terms of an inciting incident that led him to commit this attack?
In this case, the clearest indication of motivation are his own words. He wanted to cause terror.
But President Trump blaming Democrats for the violence.
Radical left Democrats are causing this problem, and it gets worse. It gets worse.
We need leadership coming from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue to take the temperature down for everybody.
And as for the victims, authorities have not yet publicly identified them, and we're told that all of the detainees who were here have been moved to a facility about an hour away. DHS says that they are going to be increasing security at facilities nationwide, including this one, which is set to reopen on Monday. Savannah?
All right, Priscilla, thank you very much. Let's get you some weather now. It has been a busy weekend in the tropics, and there's a lot to know about here at home on certain parts of the country. Angie Lastman is tracking all the trouble for us. Angie, good morning.
Hi there, Savannah. Good morning. I hate to say it. I think we jinxed ourselves a couple weeks ago when we were talking about just how quiet the Atlantic hurricane season was, because now it is totally opposite. We're dealing with a couple of systems that we're watching closely. We have newly formed Hurricane Humberto, Category 1, just barely 75-mile-per-hour winds, but just crawling along right now northwest at 3 miles per hour. We'll get to the details on that in a second, but one quick focus on tropical disturbance 94L. It has 90% chance of developing. This system's going to develop. It's just when will it develop? It looks like here as we get into the late evening hours, maybe early tomorrow or down the line through the weekend, we'll see that system develop. In the meantime, we are seeing plenty of rain and kind of unsettled weather, gusty winds over parts of the Caribbean. Hispaniola, as well as Turks and Caicos, are watching for that today. Here's how Humberto continues to move and intensify in the coming days. No notice Cat 2, Cat 3, Cat 4 pretty quickly. So by the time we get into Monday, overnight hours, Sunday into Monday specifically, we'll already be talking about a major hurricane, Category 4, 130-mile-per-hour winds. The good news is this is going to stay away from the east coast of the United States. We're not looking at impacts from this system, but Bermuda could see some indirect impacts. It still likely will be well to the west, but we won't rule out the potential for some rough surf, maybe some erosion, some things like that are all on the table here as we get through early to middle of next week. 94L still has a lot of uncertainty with it. Like I said, we're likely going to see this become a depression or maybe even a storm. It'll be Imelda once it does get named. That will probably happen late tonight or into the weekend. And you can see the development zone is quite large. What we're likely going to see is it happens somewhere over the Bahamas. One note, that water is very warm. There's a lot of uncertainty, not just with the path of this system, but also with the intensity forecast. But once we see it actually form, we'll have a better idea of how the models will play it out here as we get into the long term. One thing, if maybe you're just checking in this morning from yesterday, we do have better agreement with most of the models on it going right into the Carolinas late Monday into early Tuesday. It's not all of the models. Notice a couple of these are taking it on a hard right turn back out to the east, pulling it from Umberto. Of course, we talked about the influences those two can have on each other. So the moral of the story is essentially that we're going to need to watch this a little longer and see exactly where it develops. You can see the differences in these two models. This is the American model, and this is the European model. American model takes it into the Carolinas. Again, late Monday night and kind of stalls it out over land. We've got a ridge of high pressure that's just going to kind of keep it there. So that's not great when it comes to rainfall, heavy rainfall at that, and the flooding concern across that region. The European model, on the other hand, keeps it offshore. We'll still see some of that rain, at least with this model run. We'll still see some of that rain impacting folks along this region. And of course, those coastal impacts will still be there with a major system sitting offshore. But we still have the potential to see it set up offshore instead of on land. So moral of the story, Savannah, is we've got to wait and see exactly where the system develops, and folks up and down the southeast coast should pay attention here as we get through the weekend.
Starting now as we start to get this information for sure. Also, they might impact each other, also known as the Fujiwara effect.
Yes. You learned something new.
I'm listening.
Today, didn't you?
Thanks, Angie. See you in a bit. All right, well, in Atlanta, passengers aboard a Nigeria-bound flight are recounting the terrifying moments when one of the plane's engines caught fire. The Delta flight was forced to abort takeoff at Hartsfield-Jackson. And the scare wasn't the only aviation incident across the country just this week. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock is here with the details. Sam, we always have something to talk about here.
Yeah, you can pick a single incident any single day, right? Because there's thousands of flights. But the crew in this case, Savannah, did catch it in time. That's the good news. But you had that plane that was set to fly to Lagos in Nigeria with 200 passengers on board when Delta says that its flight crew received an indication of an engine issue. Now, while we don't know what caused that fire exactly, the crew's ability to keep the aircraft grounded avoided a potentially much more dangerous scenario.
On the runway and taxiing for takeoff, a sight that no passenger ever wants to see. Flames pouring out of one of the engines of this Delta plane.
Delta 54 Heavy, you've got your right engine on fire. You can come to a stop or roll in the truck. Thank you.
The flight crew able to immediately suspend takeoff of the commercial plane with some 200 passengers on board. According to a statement from Delta, no one was hurt, adding, as safety comes before everything else, Delta pilots followed procedures to safely suspend the takeoff of Flight 54 from Atlanta to Lagos after indication of an engine issue. Delta says the aircraft will be examined by a maintenance team, but provided no detail on what might have caused the issue.
A possible cause could be where the airflow through the engine is disrupted for whatever reason, and that causes a sputtering of flames.
The scare wasn't the only aviation incident this week. A United jet overshot the runway at the regional Roanoke-Blacksburg Airport on Wednesday.
Are you guys off the end into the EMAS? Roger, trucks are rolling now.
Forcing the pilot to rely on EMAS, or an engineered materials arresting system.
It's basically a foot of about soft concrete that causes the airplane to slow down quickly without incurring any damage.
A passenger on board describing the landing.
I thought, that was a hard bump. Yeah. I've never felt plane brakes go on so strongly before.
A number of turbulent, but not entirely uncommon episodes rattling the nerves of flyers.
These types of airline incidents occur frequently just because there's tens of thousands of airline flights. But in my view, I think the commercial aviation system in this country is still incredibly safe.
All right, back now to that incident in Atlanta, Savannah. Our aviation experts say it is a little riskier if a plane leaves the ground with an engine on fire, because then you have to navigate safely taking care of the fire while landing the plane. That's actually what appears to have happened on Sunday at Atlanta with another Delta flight only a few days before that. Yes, I know, which was able to land safely shortly after takeoff. Delta says the issue there, Delta, was a mechanical problem. But to have a couple of these scenarios in the span of less than a week, you could understand why that would be unnerving to flyers. But again, full context here. There are thousands of flights across the country every single day. Stuff like this is bound to happen. They responded accordingly.
2 in a week with an engine on fire.
Yes.
I don't care how many. I don't
Not
like
ideal.
that stat.
Yeah.
All right, Sam Brock, thank you very much. There's much more to come here on this Friday edition of Morning News Now, including the podcasters who are now changing their tune on President Trump. But first, after the break, Hurricane Helene, 1 year later, we will take you to one hard-hit community in North Carolina that's now bouncing back in the wake of the storm's devastating changes there. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It was 1 year ago today that Hurricane Helene made landfall as a devastating Category 4 storm, wreaking havoc across the southeast. The powerful storm ended up killing more than 200 people. It destroyed thousands of homes and completely devastated parts of the mountains in western North Carolina. NBC News correspondent Kathy Park covered that storm in hard-hit Asheville, North Carolina. And this morning she is back there for us to show us how they're doing. Hi, Kathy. Good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning to you. Hard to believe it's already been a year. We are here in the River Arts District, a very popular tourist destination. And this time last year, after Helene, all of this was underwater. But 12 months later, when you look around, we are seeing signs of progress. A lot of construction has happened. The marquee behind me, a large art gallery, actually reopened last night. But in other parts of the region, the recovery has been much slower.
This morning, a hard-hit mountain community marking a solemn milestone. 1 year since Hurricane Helene barreled through western North Carolina, leaving unimaginable devastation in its wake.
These are things you can't get back. There's no amount of FEMA that will put these pictures back in the frame.
12 months later, places from Swannanoa to Chimney Rock are bouncing back.
We've made a great start to this recovery, but we just have years to go.
Roads once washed out, now repaired with traffic flowing again. Local businesses nearly wiped out by the flooding coming back stronger. For many families, the recovery is far from over.
I feel like I'm kind of in this limbo spot right now.
This was a historic Biltmore village completely underwater after the disaster. Today, stores are starting to reopen, eager for the busy fall tourist season.
It's been so emotional the last probably 6 weeks is because I'm just ready to get back.
The unprecedented storm washed away hundreds of roads and bridges, stranding the Pogaltz family, who watched helplessly as their home was swallowed by rushing waters.
Did you think that you'd be here this far out?
No, I guess I thought that we would start rebuilding within a month or so.
That rebuilding has just started, but a new home is on the horizon.
It's just little things that I think of about our house that I miss, and I can't wait to have that again.
Al was here for today to lend a hand with the Manna Food Bank as volunteers pitched in to help others in spite of their own hardships.
You're without, and yet you're helping.
When you have all your control ripped away from you, the thing you can control is being helpful.
Today, the need is still great, especially in remote areas of the mountains. The Hiders, a family of 6, are making it work in a camper for now.
Stuff is just stuff. A house is just a house. Just really seeing the best of humanity really come together to help us get back on our feet.
And we should know volunteers or nonprofits are still working tirelessly to help those who still need support. One group, Operation Hilo, tells us thousands still don't have permanent housing. In fact, they handed out hundreds of campers last fall. 95% of them are still being occupied today.
All right, Kathy,
Savannah.
Thank you so much. Well, we are now joined by former North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory. Governor, thank you very much for joining the show. I mean, you have seen North Carolina go through some devastating storms. You were in office when Hurricane Matthew ripped through the state. People may remember this. This was a Category 5 storm. It was back in 2016. Last year, while not in office, you jumped in to help the emergency response for Helene. What stands out to you when you look back at the devastation and you hear everything that Kathy just laid out about how recovery's been since?
Well, the good news is, like Hurricane Matthew, we had incredible teamwork between the private sector, the public sector, the government agencies, and especially the nonprofits, the churches, Samaritan's Purse, Salvation Army, the Red Cross. The tough news is we still need to implement some new procedures. I recommended over 11 years ago during Hurricane Matthew, or 10 years ago, that, for example, that we change the rating of hurricanes, not just based upon wind, but based upon water, because it is water that kills the most people with storms in America. And we don't mention water. And so if we have a 5 hurricane rating, we ought to have a 5 or a 4 or a 3 water rating. And because during Hurricane Matthew, when I was governor, we lost 28 people, all due to drowning. And almost all the deaths in this most recent hurricane in western North Carolina was due to drowning. Even with the Texas disaster that occurred recently, it was drowning and water, not wind. And so I strongly recommend to the National Weather Service that we have a rating for wind and water, because when they lower the rating of a hurricane to a 1 or 2 and just call it a tropical storm, then people let up their guard. But then this flow of water comes in, surprising people at all times of the day or night, and it kills people. So I cannot stress that more. We need to change the importance of water. Killing people, sadly.
That's a really good point, an important one. Governor, I think for viewers who are, of course, fortunate to not have lived through a national disaster just decimating their community, it can be hard to really even wrap your mind around. I mean, what it's like when not only your home is gone, but, you know, everything in your life that you know is gone. I mean, it really just struck me in Kathy's piece there, hearing one of the people she spoke with say, you are without, and yet you're helping. How are people doing? How has this been for your community?
It's emotional. I mean, you go back to from the 21st century to the 19th century after the storm, because there was no power, there was no water, there was no anything, and you're abandoned. You're cut off. In fact, we have to treat these storms when they hit areas like Spruce Pines or Asheville, or Little Switzerland, like we had in these mountain areas. They're war zones, and you've got to bring the military in quickly to connect the areas that are disconnected, especially due to water. And you need to bring in bridges as though it's a war zone. You know, you see in the World War II films or Vietnam or whatever, when bridges are destroyed, the military can come up and bring up temporary bridges. This is what we need to do with storms in the future, whether it's here in North Carolina or anywhere in the nation. I also think we need to make sure every mayor that's elected and governor that's elected go through mandatory simulation training the minute they're elected to make sure they understand how the communications are done between the federal, state, and local levels and the private sector communications and power and water, so they understand before the storm, not after a storm, on how this works. And the team is already set in place before a disaster occurs, because a disaster is going to occur with every governor and every mayor sooner or later. And that's what happened with me during my 14 years as mayor in Charlotte and my term as governor in North Carolina. The 100-year storms are occurring everywhere now, and we've got to be trained as a team before the storm, not after the storm.
Governor, really good reminders. There's some really good tactical things that we can be doing in communities, especially if you anticipate weather like this. Former Governor of North Carolina, Pat McCrory, thank you very much for your time and for reflecting on this disaster with us.
Thank you very much.
Coming up, is the so-called podcast manosphere pulling a 180 on President Trump? The former friendly faces in MAGA world now souring on some of the commander-in-chief's recent moves. Stay with us. We're back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning. We're going to start with new questions over Disney's decision to suspend Jimmy Kimmel, but this time it is from the company's shareholders. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin joins us for more. Julie, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. Friday. Let's begin with Disney. As you said, the shareholders there are not happy about the company's decision to suspend temporarily Jimmy Kimmel from his show. Those shareholders, along with the American Federation of Teachers and Reporters Without Borders, well, they asked for internal documents about the decision to take Kimmel off the air. Why? Well, those groups are worried that Disney's executives did something wrong and that their decision last week was politically motivated and not about the company's bottom line. Switching gears to the Pentagon, that's where Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has ordered top generals and admirals to gather next week on Tuesday at the Marine base in Quantico. It's about 30 miles from where I'm sitting here in D.C. It's very unusual for the SecDef to bring together such a big group of officers, as many as 800 who are based around the country and the globe. We asked the Pentagon for details, but a spokesperson only said Hegseth, quote, will be addressing his senior military leaders early next week. And finally this morning, popular podcaster Theo Von called out the Department of Homeland Security for using him in one of their meme-style posts, apparently without his permission. I've been looking into what seems to be part of a growing trend of some in the once loyal and politically valuable group of male podcasters now appearing to take aim against the president and his administration. Take a look.
Opposition to President Trump's policies on the streets and in the halls of Congress isn't new. But a few months into his second term, a different source of criticism seems to be emerging from some popular male podcasters. The latest example, Theo Von, a typically friendly face in MAGA world, now drawing a line in the sand over the Department of Homeland Security using his video in one of their clips.
Heard you got deported, dude. Bye.
Apparently without his permission. Vaughn telling the agency to, quote, keep me out of your banger deportation videos, adding that when it comes to immigration, my thoughts and hearts are a lot more nuanced. DHS deleting the video after the comedian's criticism and not responding to NBC News' request for comment. Vaughn has made frequent Trump World appearances, interviewing the vice president, traveling with Trump to perform for troops in Qatar, and even hosting the president himself on his This Past Weekend podcast.
My son's a big fan of yours, Barron.
Really, Barron is?
Yeah, he knows you very well. He said, Dad, he's big.
Wow.
Yeah, big one.
More recently, Vaughn's grown more critical, taking issue with the White House's stance on the war in Gaza.
I think we're watching probably one of the sickest things that's ever happened.
And condemning the administration's Iran strike back in June.
This is a horrible idea, I felt like it was supposed to be America first.
The president often crediting podcasters like Vaughn with helping him win over young male voters last November. But now, other podcasters lumped into the so-called manosphere seem to be souring on some of Trump's policies. Like comedian Andrew Schultz, who hosted Trump on his podcast last year, before pulling a big 180 on the president once he took office.
I believe when Trump, everything he campaigned on, I believe he wanted to do. And now he's doing the exact opposite thing of every single
know what he's done. Yeah, exactly to your point.
You also have shifting sands under the podcasting world's biggest star, Joe Rogan, whose October 2024 interview with Trump broke records. Rogan endorsing the then candidate over Kamala Harris. Now, it's rare, but every once in a while, Rogan sounds more like a critic than a fan.
Deporting people because you don't like who they're criticizing? That gets kind of shifty. I definitely don't think that the government should be involved ever in dictating what a comedian can or cannot say in a monologue.
And then you have an issue that just won't go away. The Epstein files, potentially becoming a major wedge in Trump's relationship with a group that helped him secure the White House.
Like, in all seriousness, that is, I think, what is enraging people right now is it's insulting our intelligence.
Like, look, where's the Epstein files? Boo, can't find them. Don't exist. Like, they can get away with man.
Oh, yeah.
Vaughn resurfacing this moment from his sit-down last October with then vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance.
Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list. That is an important thing.
Asking in July, what changed? The White House deferred to DHS on their social media post and declined to respond further to our question about other criticism from podcasters. Trump continues to hold a dominant place among conservative influencers, even as some who enthusiastically greeted Trump on their podcast last year are now avoiding politics altogether.
I mean, we kind of said we wanted to maybe stay out of politics for a little bit because we just want to have fun too at the same time.
Whether the skepticism from the manosphere turns into a full-on revolt, well, that's still up in the air.
Okay, so this is not the first time the administration has been called out for something like this, not even this week, because earlier this week, Pokemon footage was used in another DHS video without the company's permission. Savannah?
All right, Julie, thank you so much. Well, coming up is bigger, really always better. When we come back, we're going to dig into a hot new trend in real estate that's got some potential home buyers thinking smaller just to get their foot in the door. That's next on Morning News Now. We are back with an emerging trend among home buyers in the U.S. I mean, people are not looking anymore for sprawling mansions. A lot of people, especially when you're a first-time home buyer, you're seeking out a smaller space. A recent survey revealed that more than a third of home buyers would be willing to get a smaller house for a better price. According to U.S. Census data, the median size of a new home in 2024 was around 2,100 square feet. That is a drop from nearly 2,500 square feet 10 years ago. Bianca D'Alessio, she joins us now with more on this. She's the CEO and founder of the Masters Division at Nest Seekers International and a friend of the show. Bianca, good morning. Great to have you with us.
Good morning.
Okay, so I mean, I think that this makes sense, right? We're like kind of calling it a new trend, but I mean, it's like every piece of economic data that we have right now just kind of showing how Americans are doing. You got to just try to get your foot in the door. Is that the idea here?
Absolutely. Buyers just want to own a home, and they've been searching for so long. It's been so hard to be able to afford anything. So they're willing to sacrifice, and they want smaller spaces as long as they can move their family into their next home. It doesn't have to be their forever home. They just want to get started.
Who are we seeing buying these smaller homes? Is it first-time buyers or is it across the board?
We're definitely seeing first-time home buyers, young families, less children in the home. That we know is another trend.
Totally.
And a lot of downsizers. A lot of older couples or older singles have been able to sell their home, cash out at great numbers because their home has appreciated so much over the last few years. And now they're looking to downsize, and they're happy with smaller homes.
I mean, even like smaller homes, though, I'm understanding some realtors, and tell me if you think this is right, $300,000 entry-level point for a lot of markets in the U.S., and a lot of markets, by the way, way higher than that.
Yes.
I mean, how are people managing that? And is part of the managing compromising something? And what kinds of things are we talking about?
It's always about a compromise, especially in this market, especially when you're looking at every single dollar and cent. So buyers, what they're compromising on, I am finding that more buyers want something that's more turnkey. So they're willing to get less space for something that requires less work. What I keep telling my clients is look for spaces that you could expand on. Don't think about forever. Think about 5, 7, and 10-year horizons. How can you add value to your home over time to make it that forever home by building and growing in it?
There are some experts who argue that there's still a portion of home buyers who do want these larger homes and properties. I mean, I think everybody would agree. Give me a big old house. But do you have any money-saving tips for potential buyers who are wanting that? And maybe it's not, the McMansion or mansion that we're talking about here, but it's just like, hey, it is time to step up. I have more kids now. We need more space.
Totally. I think right now where we if you're looking to make that transition, because of how we've seen some luxury markets and some upper end of the markets come down because of interest rates, it's a great time to enter. As rates are starting to fall now, which we will continue to see them do, it's very optimistic for home buyers who are out there in the next 1 to 2 year horizons. But if you've been looking for that upgrade, now is the time to do it before those rates start to drop, before those prices start to get more stable. Get in now.
Bianca, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Great to have you as always.
Thank you.
Let's get you more money news now. Microsoft is barring Israel's military from using some of its tech. CNBC's Silvana Henao joins us with that and other Wall Street headlines. Hey, Silvana.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. Yeah, so Microsoft is disabling some services used by a unit of the Israeli military after preliminary evidence supports a media report they were being used for mass surveillance of Palestinians. In August, The Guardian and other outlets reported an Israeli military agency was using Microsoft's Azure software to store recordings of cell phone calls in the West Bank and Gaza. That led to an internal review by Microsoft. In a blog post, Microsoft President Brad Smith says, "We do not provide technology to facilitate mass surveillance of civilians." A spokesperson for the Israeli military telling NBC News they had no comment. Shares of Costco are under pressure as the warehouse retailer reported sales that missed Wall Street's forecast for the second straight quarter. But the company says new membership perks such as extra shopping hours and deals through Instacart are paying off. Costco CEO says the benefits have led to a meaningful increase in upgrades from Gold Star to executive membership. And musician and star producer Jack Antonoff is slamming claims by Live Nation CEO that concert tickets are still underpriced. Antonoff, who made his name producing several of Taylor Swift's recent albums, responding on X, saying, "Answer is simple. Selling a ticket for more than its face value should be illegal." He also points to resellers allegedly hiking prices on Live Nation's platform. The Federal Trade Commission filing a lawsuit against Live Nation and its Ticketmaster unit yesterday for what it calls illegal resale practices. The FTC claiming the companies are knowingly working with scalpers, allowing them to unlawfully buy tickets to increase profits. Savannah.
All right. Wow. Silvana, thank you so much. Well, this weekend, the NFL going abroad once again for this season's latest matchup overseas. Thousands of American football fans are expected to make the trip to Dublin, where Ireland will host a regular season NFL game for the very first time. NBC News International correspondent Molly Hunter is in Dublin with a lot of people in a bar. That looks more fun than we're having over here. Molly, good morning.
Have come from all over. That's right. NFL first regular season game being played in Dublin. This city's excited, and these people are so excited.
An NFL regular season game on the Emerald Isle has been a long time coming. Kicking off Sunday.
Good morning, Dublin. Today's the day.
The Pittsburgh Steelers play the Minnesota Vikings at Dublin's famous Croke Park Stadium.
When the NFL comes in, they bring all their infrastructure. So they relaid the turf, they're painting the lines, they put in field goals right there.
And no team better to exemplify the bond between these two countries than the Steelers.
Here we go, Steelers, here we go.
We're a football family anyway. You know,
and an Irish family.
Founded by the legendary Irish-American Rooney family back in 1933, the NFL sees Dublin as a natural fit for what they're calling a mini Super Bowl.
You got a magical city in Dublin where people are coming in, touring around the island of Ireland, and then to see their Steelers in Croke Park, in Dublin, knowing all the history, it was one of those where every fan I talked to said, how could I miss this?
Why did it take the NFL so long, do you think, to choose this city?
I mean, we didn't have that many games, that much inventory in terms of playing internationally. The last 3 years, it's really been, what's the year? And it was 2025 in historic Croke Park. Let's do it.
And days before the game, the Irish capital is buzzing.
The atmosphere in the city is electric. Honestly, you can't really walk around any corner in the city without seeing a Steelers flag, an NFL flag, or a Vikings flag. And that's really, really cool.
This is amazing, seeing all the fans from America coming over and from all over the world as well.
The majority of black, gold, and purple swag we spot are Americans.
Steelers everywhere, signs, people wearing jerseys. I mean, it's like a Steelers city.
People love football over here, and they are energetic.
It's just excited to see how those roots grow more and more, and hopefully it just continues to grow, not only here, but just globally. We're going to whoop them. Here comes my hero. Here comes my hero, Aaron Rodgers, man.
The terrible towels will be drying tears.
Go! Go! We headed over to Dublin Castle to try our luck at a field goal at the NFL fan zone. This Sunday is one of just 7 international NFL games, and the Irish capital is ready.
They are going to have the time of their lives. They are going to be well looked after. They're going to be hosted. They're going to be supported. They're going to be cheered on.
Here we go. I mean, I remember my first year.
Now fans here are so excited. You can hear them behind me, Savannah, but they are hoping that this first regular season game won't be the last. They are so excited to be here in Dublin. Savannah?
Oh my gosh, Molly, I want to jump through the screen or switch places with you. That is the spot to be. Have fun, y'all. Thanks, Molly.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.